Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience as we got everything organized. So good to see you all here on this rainy night. I'm Shauna Sherman, manager of the African American Center, and I'm very grateful and glad to be here talking to Alison Owings and Del Seymour about a new book about Del Seymour's life called Mayor of the Tenderloin, which Alison wrote. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we are on the area now known as San Francisco, which is on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the original peoples of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place. We recognize that we benefit from living, working, and learning on their traditional homeland. And as uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay the respects to the Ramaytush community. We also have ancestral acknowledgement adapted from the San Francisco African American Reparations Committee. And it goes, we honor the gifts, resilience, and sacrifices of our Black ancestors who toiled the land, built the institutions that established this nation's wealth and freedom, and survived anti-Black racism despite never being compensated nor fully realizing their own sovereignty. We acknowledge this exploitation of not only labor, but of our humanity, and through information sharing and programs like this, we are working to repair some of the harms done by public and private actors. Because of their work, we are here and will invest in the descendants of their legacy. We are in the African American Center. This space has been here for 30 years since the library opened. We have books by and about African American people. We host exhibits here. We host several programs. Right now, the exhibit up is called Black Theater Go Home, the Black Arts Theater Movement in San Francisco. Please take a look. When you're here, if you have the time. We also had a program last couple weeks ago about Black theater in San Francisco that's on our YouTube page. We have a ton of programs on our YouTube page. If you haven't checked it out, I'd do that. There's always something happening at the center. We have a newsletter that we send out monthly, so please sign up before you leave so you can hear what's happening. Two things coming up in December. We have Kwanzaa coming up on December 28th, and we have a feast and a performance. It's really a great event. So if you're around on Saturday, December 28th, please come through for our Kwanzaa program. So let's just get started with our program. And before we go with the interview, I am going to read two short bios for both of our guests, and then I have some questions. And then after that, we'll do a short Q&A, and both of our guests agreed to sign the free books that we gave you tonight. Thank you for being here again. So Alison Owings is the author of 3 previous oral history-based books. Frauen, German Women Recall the Third Reich. I probably didn't pronounce that right. Indian Voices, Listening to Native Americans, and Hey Waitress, the USA from the Other Side of the Tray. A former television news writer at CBS News. You don't live do you live in San Francisco with your husband? She lives in San Francisco with her husband. Sorry. Del Seymour's transformation from drug user to community leader and informal advisor to Dolby, Zendex, Twitter, and other tech companies began at the park in San Francisco's Tenderloin neighborhood. A Vietnam War veteran who was chronically homeless and incarcerated for 18 years.
I spent part of those 18 years incarcerated.
Okay, part of them, not for a full, yeah. I'm like, yeah, thank
Not
goodness.
That I remember.
Right, yeah. In 2015, Mr. Seymour founded from his car Code Tenderloin, a nonprofit that offers free of charge job readiness training and coding boot camps for the hard to employ, be they formerly incarcerated, recovering addicts, homeless, or people simply needing a fresh start. He is also the founder of Tenderloin Mid-Market Walking Tours. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for the honor of being in this building.
So let's start with the origins of the book, Alison. You tell us in the preface that you went to see a play in the Tenderloin, one of your friends' plays, and then you happened to see the tour, and you went on the Tenderloin Walking Tour where you met Del Seymour.
Right.
Right?
And I had no idea who Del was other than a tour leader. And in the meantime, I had been trying to figure out what I can do specifically to help the seemingly worsening homeless situation in San Francisco. And I thought I could make a project like my previous books. I could go all around the country and talk to people who were homeless and unsheltered, and I thought that it just sounded exhausting, just the project. And I also knew enough about publishing to know that no publisher nor reader really would want to read a book that had nothing but unhappy endings. And everyone ends up in a tent or on a couch or somehow in an unsheltered situation. So I was mulling what I could do and was thinking about that when we went on the tour, simply because it preceded the play called Heroes, actually, about the drug scourge in the Tenderloin. And so Del started the tour, and he mentioned that he had been addicted to crack in the Tenderloin, and I'm nodding and thinking, yeah, okay, I'm listening. And then he said something that he's now heard me repeat maybe 10 different times, which is, he said this one sentence that just riveted me, which is, he pointed to a block of Turk and Taylor, and he said, I could have gotten a PhD in sidewalks. And that told me he'd been homeless. And it also told me that he had a way of speaking that was very engaging to me. I have sometimes interviewed people who have, I hate to say this, but pretty much nothing to say, even though they've had interesting lives. So I thought, a PhD in sidewalks, I mean, that's compelling. It has humor, it has pathos. And I asked him later, I got his phone number somehow and called and said, can we talk? And I thought maybe, and he'd had some publicity because of these walking tours he was on. So I knew a little bit about him. And I thought maybe we could talk, and maybe I could write a book focusing on one person, not as a typical person, because I don't think there is a typical person. I don't think there's a typical person in any situation, much less homeless. So he said, okay, and that was that. And I think we both thought it would take, a few months,
Yeah.
couple years.
9 years. 9 years.
Yeah,
9 years later.
What was it like that whole 9 years and like interviewing? Did you expect that it would take that long?
No, I never expected it would take that long. And I mean, if I had to do it over again, probably wouldn't do it because it took a lot of time. And it was a stretch on my ability to be public about my life. So I had to weigh the effects, the benefits of doing this over the inconvenience of doing it, because those are two words, and both of them came into mind there. So, but before I get started, I just want to thank you for hosting us in this wonderful building. As you read the book, you'll see I spent 18 years on the streets in the Tenderloin. Half of them was in this building.
That's what I was going to ask. What did you do in the building, in the library when you were here?
Well, I was not computer literate, didn't even know what the internet was. So I was in the Herb Cain Communications Center, Media Center, reading newspapers voraciously all day. Started the New York Times to LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Baltimore Sun, and just trying to get myself back together, trying to get myself, as you said, there's no one typical. I was trying to get back typical. I was trying to get back on there. I was trying to do everything I could to stay out those streets. And the library at that time, and still does, I just walked through here tonight. It ain't no different than it was 20 years ago, thank God. Thank God we haven't come up with some bullshit regulation that an unhoused cannot come in here. That they are welcome here, still welcome here, with open arms. And that's amazing because almost every other facility we have in San Francisco has eluded the unhoused from being welcome. And we should be welcome everywhere. An unhoused person is not a fire plug, it's not a tree, it's not a garbage can, it's a human being, it's a mother, it's a father, it's a daughter, it's a sister. And they should be able to come in anywhere that has a door to open. And we haven't done very well in that. So I really applaud you and your colleagues for allowing. I just walked through with tears in my eyes downstairs, seeing my brothers and sisters still in here, and could get out of that rain tonight, get out of that cold tonight, and not be questioned about why you coming in here. Just come on in, grab a device, get some knowledge, get some education, hook up with your friends, your relatives. So, I mean, this is the most amazing building in downtown.
Yeah.
And you are in the Tenderloin.
We are in the Tenderloin. This is the Tenderloin African American Center, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder of, like, you know, the importance of libraries, and we do try to, you know, we do welcome everybody at the library.
And actually, Dell used the library very much, as he explains in the book, to do research about San Francisco history when he was putting together his Tenderloin Walking Tours.
Yeah, I was up. There's a room upstairs that they got to bus you in where they have the archives, the historical books. You actually got to put on gloves and everything and treat the books with care because these are original books from the 1900s. And I did most of my research for the tour. I spent like 3 years in that room every day researching and finding out the real history of San Francisco. You can drop me off on any block, downtown, financial district, South Central. I'll tell you that whole block. I'll tell you the history of that whole block. Yeah.
So the book is really, it jumps in time, right? We start sort of more in the present, and then we go back in the past probably to the early 70s, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So why did you structure the book that way?
Well, actually, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
My editor did initially, because Dell has told me so many stories about different aspects of his life and I was so almost overwhelmed by the variety that I thought, just to get a handle on it, I would write it chronologically. So we started with Dell's birth in Southside Chicago, and his growing up there, and the Catholic school that he attended, and then the Vietnam War, and so forth. And my agent at the time, which is still my agent, this wonderful agent, she said, she loved all the material, but she said, you're asking an awful lot of readers who don't know who this person is to read 200 pages until his life takes off in a good way. I mean, there were many good things along the way, being a plumber, being an electrician, being a paramedic at the LA Fire Department. There were many good things, but the main redemption part, getting off crack and getting housed, that doesn't come until like 200 pages in, she said. So she said, let's start with something really good. So we started initially, she was restructuring it, and I was so happy to get an agent because it was so hard to find an agent. I said, sure. And she started it with I think I've told you this, Del, started with one of the early Code Tenderloin graduations at Dolby. And people are so thrilled who have gone through the Code Tenderloin training and are getting their graduation certificates. They're so happy. And it's a really upbeat chapter. So I said, okay. And then it goes back and forth a little bit. So then she sold it to wonderful Beacon Press of Boston. And the editor said, oh, I really love so much about this book, but I don't think we should start this way because this is sort of inside information, but it's true publishing information. She said, because the reader has not yet earned this triumph. The reader doesn't yet know what Dell has gone through to have this wonderful moment. So it was her idea to start with addiction and then come back and go back and forth. And actually some people have said you just have to pay attention and follow the line back and forth. And I think it really works well.
Yeah, I do too. And there's the book is just jam-packed with so many amazing stories. Yes. I can't believe that was your life.
I can't believe it either. While we were getting ready for it, I think we had a small discussion about listing all the jobs I've had. I got up to 100 and I stopped. Wow. Which means I'm a terrible employee, but I'm a good interviewer.
Sometimes that's all that matters, right? You got the job, right?
Yeah. I can interview my ass off.
Right.
In fact, there's a chapter called Hustling. And that has a lot to do with Dell's variegated job opportunities. Yeah.
So Del, could you talk about your Tenderloin? Like, how would you describe it today? Like, how would you have described it in the 90s? I mean, you sort of touched on this already, early 2000s when you were running the streets. Like, we've heard a lot about the SF doom loop, and I hate to hear it because I love San Francisco. I think it's a great city, but and I don't think it's, it's always, maybe you can tell us, like, what's the Tenderloin like, really, for people that maybe don't know the Tenderloin?
Tenderloin is a very interesting neighborhood. It's diverse. It lives up to its name that the media gives it sometimes. I'm not going to deny anything that goes on in my community. If we would take the new cars away, I just Ubered here in a brand new Honda or something. If we would take all those new cars away, I would walk out by side and I wouldn't know if it's 1990 or 2024. Because our streets look exactly the same. The same people that was out there in 1990 are out there tonight. I did a talk at University High School this morning, and I was telling the kids that, the people that I laid out in the tents, I walk past them every day. Some people have been on the streets 50 years, homeless. So there's no difference. The buildings are the same, still these raggedy-ass SROs that need to be bulldozed and pushed out into the bay. Because they know we're in 2024, anywhere on this world, we should have a living building with the bathroom 2 floors down. We wouldn't do that in the animal shelter. We would not do that in the animal shelter, but we allow it to go on here because that's business as usual. That's okay. I'm so tired of things being okay because it ain't okay. When a 70-year-old woman has to walk down 2 flights to a bathroom, she really don't even want to go in, who's just been used by 50 people of all kind of walks of life. The bathroom, the white marble on the bathroom is black from mold and dirt and feces. 2024, and we're actually charging no money. So that hasn't changed. So to give you, and part of it's our fault, we're afraid of change, because change generally means displacement. When you want to, we're gonna improve this, but no, you're not. You're kicking us out and bringing some folks from the West Side in, who want to live closer to their tech job. So we're scared of any kind of talk about that. So what I want, and I push for all the time with the mayor's office and everyone else, I sit on the homeless board at City Hall. I want chrome and glass for our unhoused people. I want them to have the same dignity as non-affordable. When you say affordable housing, that must mean that you got housing that's non-affordable. Right. And you ain't telling us that. Because if this one is affordable, that means this one is unaffordable. Why in the hell would you let a developer build a building in this city that's non-affordable? Politics. Our homeless are being used as a political football. It ain't about Tyrone and Sheila. It's about the mayor, the controller, the board of supervisors, how they're looking in the paper. Not how Tyrone is looking in the paper, how they are looking in the paper for their political future. Because our politicians are interns. They get into a position, all they do is interning for the next position, and then for the next position. How are we paying them to run this district, to run this city, while you spending 90% of your time running for the next position? And they get away with it. We let them get away with it. And while Tyrone and Sheila are laying on the ground.
Right. Can you talk to us about why you started Code Tenderloin and what Code Tenderloin is? I mean, we've mentioned it. I don't know if we've really talked about what it is.
Yeah, my friend Ennis is here tonight. He knows a lot about it also. He's been with us for a long time. But Code Tenderloin is, I would take people on tours through the Tenderloin. People from France and Australia and Morocco and all these crazy places. And we would walk through the Tenderloin. And my brothers and sisters are standing on the corner in the Tenderloin. Why your brothers and sisters stand on the corner? I said, because Twitter's right down the street. Go to Twitter. I don't see one of them coming in and out. And they're coming into our neighborhood and not offering us employment. We got the shortest community in the world. You're hiring people from Ireland and Morocco, and we're right down the street, and you're not looking at us. So I went to Jack Dorsey. Y'all know who Jack Dorsey is. And I took 3 days to get to speak to him. I just sat in his lobby, in his office for 3 days. 8 o'clock, I got there in the morning. 5 o'clock, they said, well, we got to lock up. I said, so that means I got to go? Yeah. 8 o'clock, I'll be there the next day. And finally caught his ass coming in. And I said, Mr. Dorsey, you are here in the Tenderloin. And I don't see none of my people. I don't see nobody look like me going in this building. Not even the security guard. And he says, well, your people can't code. I said, oh, is that what it is? So I started Code Tenderloin. And it's a coding academy and software engineering academy. We started graduating people. We walked back across the street and held up our certificates. Now what's up? Now what's the problem? And they started hiring us. Jack Dorsey came over to my office a few months after that and says, well, we got a relationship now. And he walked around a little bit. He says, what can I do for you? Now, this is a billionaire talking to me, my broke ass, asked me, what can you do for me? Duh. You're a billionaire, dude. Come on, it's obvious what you can do for me. And he says, well, how much you think you need? I'm scared because I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to go too high, bro, and I didn't want to go too low either. So I said, I don't know, maybe we could use about $50,000. And he says, $50,000? I said, oh man, I done blew it. And he said, I don't give no nonprofit $50,000. That's not what I do. And I said, oh man, I done blew it. And he said, I'm gonna start you out for $1.5 million. And I said, okay, that's cool.
That's amazing.
That's cool. And he wound up giving us $1.6 million.
Wow.
But we got other people like LinkedIn. They built us a classroom in their lobby, and we gave class there today. 6 years ago, they built a classroom, feed us lunch and dinner. We do our graduations there. Zendesk has been wonderful. Microsoft has been wonderful. Adobe has been super wonderful. Salesforce. So that we all are collaborating on making this a place that we can walk into Twitter.
But I would say, it's not a but initially Dell thought that so many people needed so many kinds of jobs, and not hamburger flipping jobs so much, but jobs that could lead to a career that were not necessarily in coding. They could be a security guard. They could be all kinds of different things. They could be in the kitchen of the tech industries. And code initially, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong, code initially meant code as in a hospital code blue. We're dying here. And Code Tenderloin reflected the dire straits that the Tenderloin was in. Then later, coding came in. I don't even think you were terribly enthusiastic about that initially. I mean, now is a different story. But the original code was for an emergency.
So my thing is, let us get in the building. I don't care what kind of position you're going to offer us. Let us get in the building and watch us come up. Because we'll talk to someone in the elevator, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, wherever it takes. Hey, what do you do here? Oh, I do this. Well, you got any room on your team? Yeah, in fact, we do. We've gotten jobs like that. Someone asked me, what do you do here? What's your team like? Well, we got an opening on our team for an intern right now. And we've got so many people jobs just by getting in the building, So what we do tech visits. We go over to the tech community and we visit them. We spend the day shadowing, learning people, making introductions. And I know when I first started the tech visits, the first one was Twitter. Now I had about 16 young African-American males who had just recently retired from the drug business. I mean, within hours have retired. So I says, we're going over to Twitter. Twitter is only like a 10-minute walk from my office. We're going over to Twitter. They said, no, we're not. You ain't taking us over there showing us out in front of them white folks. They ain't going to do nothing for us. They don't want us over there. I said, yes, they do. They invite. No, you ain't fronting us out like that because these dudes are straight from the streets, They know game, and they saw game. It wasn't game, but they thought they saw game. So the 10-minute walk from my office to Twitter, which is right down the street, 10-minute walk, did it every day. 45 minutes later, we still walking because they kept running out. Oh, yeah, they kept running out. It was like a kindergarten class. Bring your ass back here. Bring your ass back here. Oh, I got to go take my sister to the dentist. No, you don't. You ain't got to take your sister to the damn dentist. Bring your ass back here. So we finally get to Twitter. Now, they are mad with me. Man, I ain't never seen no young black men that mad. I was a little worried for a minute because they mad. Oh, they ain't feeling this at all. So I don't know if you ever been to a tech company. It's about the size of this floor. There's no rooms, no walls, no nothing, just pillows all over. Those tech people, they nuts. They got pillows all over the floor, and you just sit there on your laptop, and that's your office. You know, so, but always in the middle, there's like a conference room in glass, a glassed-in conference room. So that's where Twitter had us come in with some chairs, and then they was going to do their presentations and all of that. So my boys come in there, and they sitting there, and they looking at me like, we going to get you, dude. So the Twitter people come in. Now, while we sitting in this class, it's hundreds of people walking by us. Everybody's on their laptop, and just hundreds of people. Hey, my boys ain't paying no attention to nothing. All they want to do is get the hell out of here. So the Twitter people come to the room and says, hey, I'm the so-and-so at Twitter. What's your name? What do you want to do here? They ready to go. They ain't feeling nothing. All of a sudden, when I said, I done blew it now, I done blew my chance. 3 or 4 young African Americans with Twitter shirts on walked by on their computers. My boys turned and looked at them and followed them out the room. Sir, couldn't shut them up. So it's so important for me to learn that we got to go, it's called crossing market. I got a special video about crossing market. We need Twitter to come over here, feel our pain, see what we're going through, but we need to go over there too, because we don't understand them, they don't understand us. We think we know them, but they think they know us, and we don't. So we start that campaign, so we do that with every tech company now. For a while, all the new tech companies had a mandate that they had to come out on the Tenderloin Walking Tours before they started their job. Zendex, Microsoft, all of them. And they honored that for years. The pandemic kind of slowed it down.
Because some of these, the new tech employees, they weren't necessarily even from this country, and they didn't know what the hell they were getting into when they were working about a half a block from the Tenderloin. So Dell really became a bridge between tech and the Tenderloin.
So in this book, we learn about Dell's life, right? Dell, we learn a little bit about your life. And there's as you can, a little too much, you didn't like.
But yeah. I actually censored some.
You censored?
I could have written even more.
And there's a lot of stories you could tell. Dell is an awesome storyteller. And you talk about this in the book, Alison, about how there's a lot of fluid facts.
Fluid
Fluid facts. And I've been a journalist. You know, I was a journalist, and I have a time when somebody told me they were kidnapped, and I went and interviewed him, and it became a front page story. And then it come to find out he was actually with a prostitute and didn't want to tell his wife. So, you know, like as journalists, you were a little skeptical.
I know him.
You know him.
He lying.
I can tell you more about it. Anyway, it was so embarrassing. But you know, you learn as a journalist. You know, you have to be a little skeptical. So. I mean, when you read the book, you'll see that the stories are amazing. It's like so unbelievable. I'm like, really? Did this really happen?
So you're asking, was I skeptical, right?
Well, were you skeptical? But I think you worked with Dell for 9 years. Yeah. So what made you trust the stories? And then eventually you did do some fact checking, right? And like, did your editors say something like about fact checking and stuff like that, you know?
No, the editor nervously said, you didn't fact check this book? I said, well, no, this is actually, in terms of pure biography, it's not a pure biography. A pure biography would be half the book would have notes. This has a page and a half of notes. This is more or less an oral history. And it's my out, because when you're an oral historian, you record what people say, and you pretty much give it as you hear it. But there are a few little exceptions in this. Number one, my feeling was Dill didn't have any reason to lie to me. And he didn't know me from Adam. He knew that I had a journalistic background. He had some horrible experiences with journalists, so he didn't trust them. So he maybe didn't trust me. I don't know at what point you started trusting me. I don't even know if it's really happened, Ned. But when I started talking to Del and listening to him, I didn't mean talking to, but we had conversations, but it's pretty much my asking questions, and then Del, as you can tell, would have very interesting answers, and they'd go on for a while, and I'd maybe ask another slant on the same story, like how did that affect this and this and this, and he'd say, and he could have at any time in these years, he could have said, this is too much, I've had it, forget it. And he didn't. So my feeling was that he was, I don't know about glad to participate, but he was willing to help get this story out, which would help other people. So that was ongoing. Now, as to fluid stories, I point this out in the preface, which is the only part of the book that I'm in at all. This is the first book in which I pull myself out entirely after the preface. But he would say, "Oh, that town was 100% white." Well, maybe not. Or this happened or this happened. When it had to do with years or numbers, I just figured, let the reader figure out this is maybe yes, maybe no. But there was absolutely nothing basic that I wanted to fact check. Like I didn't try to find Dell's VA records. I didn't try to find his birth certificate. I didn't ask for them. I just took it on faith, really, that he's telling me the truth as he remembered it. And some of the stories change a bit, but not a whole lot. And then there were a couple stories that were so interesting that I wanted to get another perspective on them. And that's when, like the story of your going to San Luis Obispo to try to get free of crack. And you stayed with that family, the moving man and his wife. And so I managed, with Dell's help, because he knew where she had moved, to reach the wife, and I interviewed her. And I interviewed also on the phone, and I also interviewed a man who had helped with a veterans program in Sacramento. So there were a few times, and I interviewed Walter about what was happening in the church, the Christian Center. So maybe there were, I interviewed two of Dell's adult daughters. So I'd get another perspective, but I wasn't fact checking per se. I was just. The German word is Ergänzung. I was enlarging the basic story.
So some things, I don't know, I guess, I haven't read the full book yet. I'm still working on it. But did you mention that 13-minute marriage? Is that in the book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, so that is a little inaccurate. It was actually 30 minutes. Okay.
15, yeah.
But I enjoyed every moment of, no, I didn't. I was so glad to get away from that woman. If you haven't read the book, I don't want to do a spoiler, but we broke up in the church. In front of the minister. Right here in Oakland.
Yeah, that's in the book, right?
Yeah. We were together for 7 years, never had an argument until we got married, in the church. I ran out to church, didn't see her for 6 months. Oh, and that's a real true story. My daughters can tell you that's a real true story. They were there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's everything in this book from like your business in the 1970s. I didn't know that there was a foreclosure crisis in the 70s, and your business, HUD, your business making money, redoing foreclosed houses, attempted murders, planes into mail trucks. Yeah. I mean, you got to read the book. It's just, there's so much packed in there. I can't.
So in the 90s, I think it's part of the book that I was the thought person behind the OnStar system.
Yes.
I engineered it right upstairs. Herb Cain in 1992 wrote a story about me in the Herb Cain column about my OnStar system. I was the first one in the world to come up with it, and GM stole it from me. I'm still working on litigation. And that's true. I can prove. I got front page newspapers, L.A. Times in 1992, Oakland Tribune, the whole page, all about my OnStar system and General Motors wine and I'm easy to wine and dine, man. You can take me out, wine and dine me anytime. I'll fall for the okie doke, and I fell for the okie doke, and here I am, and there they are.
I think that's when I first met you, when you were here with Dr. Carolyn Ransom Scott for our Black Excellence, Black Invention. Is that why you came? Because of your invention? I didn't know that. Maybe we need a.
You can look at it's upstairs on microfilm.
Or you could just read it in the book.
Yeah, we could read it in the book, or we have it on our databases.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we have those bookmarks. Maybe we need one for Dell too.
Oh, I brought all these bookmarks. I forgot to give them to you, but I have them. Okay.
So I noticed we're in the African American Center, and I know that you have a exhibit, Tenderloin Blackness, and you're wearing a shirt, Tenderloin Blackness.
Tenderloin Blackness.
So can you tell us a little bit about what Tenderloin Blackness? What is that, and what does black mean in the Tenderloin?
Well, you read the media and you talk to people, and you'll get the impression that every black person in Tenderloin is selling dope or smoking dope, which ain't true at all. That's a very small percentage of us. We get up every day and go to work like everyone else. We work in all parts of San Francisco, the Bay Area, out on the docks, and we don't get no recognition for it. For a while, I was even a victim of it. When I first got clean, and I was still living in the Tenderloin, people asked me, "Oh, where you living?" I said, "Oh, Walnut Creek, Concord, whatever I was gonna say." I was ashamed to say I lived in the Tenderloin, because next year, "Oh, you smoke dope." And so we got embarrassed, still are, to a certain, until we came out with this project. We got so many people, black people, working in the Tenderloin, in our nonprofits, in our fire department, in our paramedic department, in our police department, in our Department of Public Health, that work strongly in the most challenged neighborhood in the United States, maybe, the Tenderloin, and we get no recognition for all we are dope dealers. We got so many elderly black men and black women that come out in the morning to their grocery shopping and go back upstairs. You never see them. They never accounted. So this is intended to make you proud to be black in the Tenderloin. We had our first opening night at the Tenderloin Museum. I think we had 175 people there. 54 were black firefighters and paramedics that work in the Tenderloin, including the fire chief. So so we've been doing exhibits. Next month we're gonna, and anyone here wants to go, we're gonna charter a bus to go to, and I want to take you to the African American Museum. Do you know there's an African American Museum in Redwood City?
Yes.
In downtown Redwood City, and no one knows about it. It's right downtown. You know where the theater is, the old theater? It's right around the corner from it.
So how'd that happen?
I don't know. San Francisco. I don't know. She's doing her best. This is a form of it right here. San Jose has a wonderful exhibit at their Martin Luther King library, but we just ain't got it together yet here. I mean, we're working on it, I think. I don't know. And then we're going to go next month to Sacramento to get a black African Americans. And this is not only African Americans, this is for anyone in Tenderloin. 2 of my team members are white, so it's not a dedicated black organization, but we're honoring the black folks. So we're going up to Sacramento to sit at a legislative session so they understand how process goes and how to really contact someone when you have a problem. You can't do that at City Hall, but you can do something in Sacramento, because they run City Hall. That's where it starts at. So we're going to charter a bus, and then we're going to do a lot of other fun things. In fact, Friday night we're having a senior dance and potluck, and we're going to have food and all at my office at 55 Taylor. There'll be another, and then we'll give away shirts to whoever wants a shirt. So that's kind of what it's about.
Yeah, that's a great idea, senior dance. I saw that.
Oh, you saw it?
There's a flyer up there for it.
What kind of music?
Oh, I don't know. Tina's doing the music.
It's a senior dance, so I'm assuming maybe.
Yeah, maybe stepping. Probably stepping. That's stepping there. That's. I think it's 4 o'clock.
There's a flyer up there, so
is it?
yeah,
Okay.
we'll get it when we get.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, so I mean, I read this book thinking, how can I be like Dell? and like, how can I, do good in the community like Del? How can I, how do I, there's a good quote in the book about like when you became a firefighter, like, isn't it great? The greatest feeling to like be what you want to be. Like,
what you
so
wanna be, yeah.
what,
Yeah.
would you have any advice for like people, like how to, like, I guess, you have to sit in the office and wait for the person you're trying to get day in and day out,
Yeah.
to get something done. But like, do you have any advice for us in terms of like, to be like you and like, so,
You're talking to Del or me or both? Both.
Well, we can both answer it, and then
I mean,
this will be the last question.
It's more or less down to being able and willing to help someone without recognition. Not doing it to be recognized, but just doing it because they need help. And understanding that what you do, you can do something small and completely change someone's life, the direction in their life. And you know why I do it? Because people did it for me. Look at where I'm at right now. And I was downstairs 15 years ago, trying to wash up in your bathroom.
Paying it back.
Yeah. So it's about that, and Inner's knows is also the things I get, the recognition I get, the feeling, the reward, or however you want to say it, is when I get on Muni. Because if some reason I ride that crazy ass Muni, I get on Muni, and I'm riding the 38 or the 31 or something, trying to kind of wind down my day. And I'll be sitting there, the bus will be empty, and someone will come sit right next to me. And I said, oh man, I'm trying to, isolate. And they'll start talking. Blah, 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 blah. Man, my new apartment is so great. I went and bought some dishes from Target last week. And then, I painted the one bedroom. And I'm like, what is this guy or girl talking about? She'll just be going on and on about this apartment. And they'll say, and my job. Oh, man, I got the best boss in the world. And I just got a raise. And I went on. And I'm saying, why don't this person shut up? I'm trying to get on my emails or something. And they'll look at me and says, you don't know me, huh? I said, no, really. You gave me an apartment 6 months ago. You gave me a job 3 months ago. And I said, wow. Wow. And it just takes me out. Yeah. So that's the reward you'll get.
Well, thank you, Del. Did you learn anything writing this book in the 9 years?
It's different kinds of rewards. I didn't know I wanted to be a writer until I was 10 years old. That's when I decided I wanted to be a writer, and I love the effect of writing if it helps. In fact, that's why I went into journalism, and I wrote for CBS News and Walter Cronkite and the big boys, as I call them, and because we were trying to be helpful in a way. I mean, it's a different kind of help, but trying to get truth to the American public, to people who are listening. And when I quit that to write my own books, I did it simply, if not so simply, to make a difference in other people's lives who were stereotyping different groups of people. So German women in the Third Reich, were they all Nazis or not? American waitresses, they were all across the board, and people looked down on American waitresses. I managed to find a woman who was waiting in the Greensboro, North Carolina restaurant during the first Southern sit-in. She was a witness to that. And so I went down to North Carolina and interviewed her. And other women who had different but compelling stories. A woman who worked on her reservation, which sort of led me to write about Native Americans, because sometimes people have no idea who Native Americans are. They think buffaloes and teepees and that's it. And I'm really interested in confronting stereotypes and pulling them apart and seeing, are they accurate or not? And that's why, in fact, I was interested in interviewing people who were unsheltered around the country, and we'll go back full circle, and that's why I was giving up on that. But that is my reward sometimes when I get letters from readers who said, you completely changed my mind about how I see American waitresses, for instance, that it's a class system, and there's so much more is going on than I realized. And so that's my reward, but it's not quite as overwhelming and direct as Del's. It's a little more subtle, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we want to open it up for questions. I'm going to go get the walk around mic and let me know if you have any questions. All right, so I'll go here and then here.
Yeah, I wanted to know how you feel about the local election and if you have connections with the new mayor, and are you hopeful?
I'm 100% hopeful that this new administration might do something a little better than the other administration. We have really, I chair the homeless board at City Hall. So we've been making some outstanding progress lately that we've never made before. The problem is when you read the stats, it takes, normally on a typical day, we house about 20 people in San Francisco, which ain't a lot when you compare it with 9,000. But we can't house 9,000. It's not possible, not today. Maybe over the next 2 years, not today. The problem is we house 20 people today, we have 60 come in. So we're always fighting that number. And we're just trying to figure out a way to do it. The new administration is declaring that they will end homelessness in 6 months. Every mayor has said that. So I've been on the board with every mayor, and every mayor, that's just a standard thing. Oh yeah, okay, you read the script. But we'll see. Mr. Laurie is a friend of mine. I'm not political. I don't support nobody. He's a friend of mine, and he's actually a donor to Code Tenderloin. So I admire him for his work that he's done in the past with Tipping Point, some other organizations. But we'll wait to see. I got a meeting with him next week, I think, that we'll walk to Tenderloin and talk about some practical. He and I have walked to Tenderloin before, but I want to update him on some of the things that we do. If you read the Examiner today, you'll see some quotes I made in the Examiner today about how homeless people are supposedly turning down housing, turning down services, where they're turning down the options that they give them. And you'll see me saying in this book, if any of us lost our house tonight through earthquake, fire, whatever, we would go look at 7 different apartments before we would decide on one. Why are you going to take that away from Tyrone? Because you'll grab him and say, look, you going to 5th and Bryant, whether you got raped there last month or not, you going to 5th and Bryant, get your stuff. Can't do that. That's not fair. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you have a right to choice.
Okay, question over here.
My question is, since Twitter has left, is Code Tenderloin still in effect? I just want to know.
Yeah, we teach coding every day. We teach software engineering every day because Twitter is physically gone, but they're hiring people from all around the world. I mean, we got several people just got hired with Airbnb, and they moved to Hawaii, and they're working in Hawaii. I mean, because you can work anywhere. You got to come in maybe once every couple months, but they'll fly you in. So no, we're not slowing that at all. We're learning AI because we do the research and find out, okay, coding is good this year, but in 2 years, what's going to be the need? So we want to train you on what's going to be the need in 2 years. So you'll be right aboard with that, and we constantly watch the job boards to see what is needed.
Any other questions?
You had a question?
I'm going to run over there with the mic.
All right.
Grab my phone on the way.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Antonio. I want to congratulate you, both of you, for this. I want to read this book. I am new in the Tenderloin, and it's been a really crazy experience, to be honest. So I want to ask you as the mayor of the Tenderloin, what would you tell me how can I educate myself about what I see since 12 months now? And it's very hard. I really sympathize with people. I see everybody as human being, first of all. And I really want to understand how this is happening in downtown. I was not born in this country, and I was born in Nicaragua, and living in Latin America and the downtown is really like, wow, really nice, Yeah. But living in downtown in San Francisco is really, really an experience. So I really like to see. I know that it's really nice that when you mentioned that not everybody is doing dope and all that kind of thing that people do. There are very honest and very nice people, hard worker, and etc. So, what would you advise me to educate myself about that?
Well, you know, when you walk through the Tenderloin South of Market, you see these structures they call tents and encampments. Those two words I really don't use, because that is not a camp. Camp is in Yosemite with your marshmallows and your little dog and your bonfire and your little jazz music. That's camping. These people are living. That's their homes. When you walk through that sidewalk on Ellis Street, you're looking at Tyrone and you're saying to yourself, why is he laying out here in front of me blocking my sidewalk? Tyrone's looking up at you saying, why are you walking through my bedroom? Because that's what you're doing. You're walking through his bedroom. It's not his bedroom, it's your bedroom, because you gave it to him. You as society, we taxpayers, we have given them that as his only option. And we walk around them like ain't nothing happening. What we need to do is get more. You can't go to City Hall and make no play. Okay, next speaker. Okay, next speaker. You take this room, you got 30 people, you'll scare them. And then they'll do something. They got to understand that we have to give and that's all in the examiner today. We got to give people options. I can't deal with you with 9,000 other people. I can take you from A to B, because I got 9,811 more. But if you let me take this deal with you and 19 others, I can take you to A to Z. I can get you out the system today. And we're not doing that. We're trying to meet with everybody. And you just can't do it.
I would like to ask, what are you thinking of doing? Would you like to volunteer? Do you have a particular idea that you would like to pull through?
I would like to understand how that phenomenon has been happening since here, because I'm new here. I just lived in the United States just 5 years ago, and I live in the Tenderloin since 1. So I just want to understand. And yeah, of course, try to, because last time, for example, I saw a very young girl, she was shaking. It's cold now, so I have an extra jacket, and I just wanted to give it to her. And she started screaming to me and very violent, so it was very like, oh, mama, what can I do? And I just run away. I was scared. And the other day I also have an extra pair of shoes, which I know used the much, and I give it to somebody. And then there was 2 other guys fighting one another, and I was like, oh my God. I try to just help a little bit, do something, because they are human beings, like all of us. It doesn't matter if they are doing this thing, blah, 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 blah. So I'm just trying to understand.
Well, let me offer this advice. First of all, we have all been hurt in the Tenderloin in one way or another. Give us some space. Don't come up in our face, because that scares the bezoozles out of us. Stay back. Stay from my distance to her and talk to me, because you never know. I don't know who you are. Just because you dress nice don't mean you're not a gangster. So you could be just as scary because you're new face. So give us some space. Talk to us. If at any moment they don't feel like talking to you, walk like you do anybody else. But just get respecting, like Alison says, you can volunteer. Come by Code Tenderloin. We're at 55 Taylor. We got some volunteering things that you could do. Help someone. If everyone in this room will go to the TL, and you can go through me or any of the other Tenderloin leaders, we'll hook you up with someone. Because what we do in the Tenderloin and what we don't do, we get a job, we get an apartment, we ain't got no money to call. Like you get a new apartment, you're going to call your sis, hey sis, I just got this new apartment, woo, woo, woo. They ain't got nobody to call. So it means nothing to them. You could be that person that they can call. What's your name again? Antonio, I got my new apartment, man. Antonio, they just gave me a raise on my job. Hey, man, I just got a new Toyota. That's what they need. They don't have that.
Well, I'm quite familiar with that because I'm an IHS provider.
Oh, yeah, so you know.
Live in the Tenderloin.
Okay.
So I talk with them about it. I'm just trying to get
Well,
educated myself.
You already there, huh?
One more question.
Yeah.
No, go.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just add real quick to that?
We-
Your response is take his tour, and also Faithful Fools also has tourism.
Yeah.
I would recommend take his tour, plus also there's Faithful Fools. They have tours of the Tenderloin. Will basically show you. Okay, I don't know if you've done. People know that program.
You can do that
Okay,
one, yeah.
yeah, those will both give you an education about the Tenderloin.
And we got one last question.
Okay, we'll let you finish up, business.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for writing the book, and thank you, Del, for all the work
Thank you.
you do. You know, when you talk about housing, and it really kind of gets into my wheelhouse. And what I think about, you know, like I worked with the city when we went to the pandemic, and so I worked in the hotels. All the hotels, 16, there were 16 different hotels
Yeah,
at
we
one
did
time.
16 hotels.
And so I visited all the hotels as a senior administrative analyst. And, you know, part of the problem I see, though, with housing is that they don't, you want to put people in housing, but you don't want to do services. You got to have services, because if I'm, when I was a crack addict, if I had no crack addict down the street, or down the building, we're gonna smoke crack, and we might start running out the doors, breaking down the doors, tearing up the building, and so you got to have resources. So again, we showed we could do it during the pandemic. We could house people. We could get people places. But people don't. One last thing I want to say though, people, when we had coordinated entry, individuals did not want to go into SROs, because then they felt like they were stuck in SROs. They considered housed, and they couldn't move up to the one bedroom. I think there needs to be a system where they could have some choices, like you said, because when they have no options and stuff, some choose to stay on the street.
Yeah, a lot of them did, because, see, what we don't do, let me finish it real quick. Okay, what we don't do in San Francisco, you know the thing about being homeless, whether you're out there 10 years, 5 years, 19 years, you ain't paid a bill. You ain't got no PG&E. You ain't got no credit card. You don't have no landlord. You don't have no Walmart. You have never paid a bill in 19 years. So I'm going to move you into this apartment. Now I'm expecting you to change your habits after 19 years and never paying a bill. You ain't going to pay a bill, because you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to say, well, I'll pay my rent next month because I'm going to Reno this weekend. You are not able to make that, and we have set your ass up that you're going to be back out on the street in 90 days guaranteed. When I got clean, and I'm still like that, I don't have any idea what my bills are, because everything's automatic. Everything, my rent, my car, my mortgage, my everything, all my credit cards is all automatic. I don't have a chance to say, well, maybe I want to pay PG&E this month, I'll do this. I don't even have the ability to do that. I don't know what day is due, because if it was left up to me, after being out there 18 years, I'm going to forget half of them bills. So that's what we need to train people to do, to be good. And the other thing is that, you know, you've been out there on the street in your tent playing your music all night long. We get you a place, you're going to play your music all night long, not realizing 20 other people in this building don't want to hear that shit. So we got to teach you. You can't bring your cousin over there smoking weed on the front porch. You can't do any of that stuff that you did in the tent. So we got to train people to be good tenants and good citizens.
Yes, thank you. And we just touched the surface tonight. And there's so much more in the book about how we can help the unhoused, how we run Code Tenderloin. I really appreciate having you both here tonight. Thank you
so
Del
much.
Seymour, and
I thank your
Alison
staff
Owings.
for being here, the camera people. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank our
you.
staff.
Thank you.
And
And especially thank the people that endured that rain, that San Francisco storm.
Right. Thank you for coming out. And in case you didn't know, San Francisco Public Library has a program called Read to Recovery, where we give free books on recovering from addiction. 12-step books at every branch. Find the sign that says Read to Recovery if you need help with any of that. And I do have some of the books over here, so feel free to grab one of those. And check us all out on sfpl.org. Thanks again for coming.
And grab a book. We'll sign them right now.
We'll sign them right here.